Welcome, it's Montel Williams here, and thanks for joining us again for another edition of Let's Be Blunt with Montel, where we talk normally everything cannabis and hemp related in the world to make sure we can give you enough information to help you navigate the space as you are out looking in dispensaries and other places to find a product that you might want to use for yourself or your family. But today, we're going to shift the paradigm just a little bit again. This is now the second appearance of our next guest on the podcast. And because of your response, I want to make sure that I keep bringing her back and giving you an opportunity to hear a little bit more about what she does. She's a medical intuitive, a spiritual healer, an energy medicine practitioner. She started a practice in etheric medicine based in Long Beach in 2017. And her practice, Bobbie, communicates with the spirit to help people get to the root cause of their physical illnesses, chronic pain, and or emotional issues. And I'm talking about the one and only Bobbi Vogel. Welcome her back to Let's Be Blunt with Montel.
Thank you.
Yay. Thanks for being here, Bobbie.
Thank you.
You know, I think what I ought to do one more time, though, to make sure those people who are tuning in, expecting to hear everything cannabis and hearing from you, they need to understand what it is you do. What exactly is a medical intuitive? How would you describe yourself? What do you do?
Well, right. I think it's different for everybody. So I know for me, what it means is that I am able to tune in to someone's, not just their etheric body, energy body, but their physical body as well. And I can see density, anxiety. I'm given information about what that density means, how we can clear it out.
And in that process of identifying that density and clearing it out, you say that you're able to get to the root of a person's illness and help them overcome that, right?
Right.
How did this come about? I mean, were you just sitting around one day on the couch going, I think I can heal somebody? No, where did this come from?
That never occurred to me, actually.
Okay.
Being
Where
in this
where did
position.
it come from?
Well, I mean, it's a pretty long story, but
It's okay. We got some time.
okay. So I was a top producing realtor in San Francisco. I moved down to LA when a client from San Francisco who was a flipper, an investor, she wanted to buy properties in Los Angeles and flip them. So we got into contract on 5 great homes.
How many years ago was this?
Now it's about 6.
Okay.
And so I thought, now is a good time, to go if I'm going to go, because I always wanted to live down here on the beach. And then I made that move, and within 4 days of that, she bailed on all of the contracts, even though she was,
Ouch.
Yeah, so it was about $225,000 gone. But so I wasn't obviously planning for that. And then I had brought my special needs son. He was in a high care facility in the Bay Area because he's adopted and has behavioral issues. And so within a very short period of time, he was moved down there, and then San Francisco County decided they didn't want to pay for his care anymore, and they basically forced him out.
Okay.
Bottom lining it, but they had just, so the day before that they had said, he needed a lot of care. And then the next day I was threatened with being arrested for abandonment if I didn't come pick him up. Now I know that I'm not suited, that it didn't have what he needs, which is a lot. But anyway, he, because of his struggles and stuff, I had to have him at home, and he was going to a public school for the first time in his life. He was always within a school, within a facility, and it didn't go well. And little by little, I couldn't go to work during the day because he wouldn't be at school all day and lots of other things. And without that cushion, I pretty quickly lost everything that I had, and ended up having a sticker from the sheriff on the door. And this is over a bit of time. And I was just at an absolute complete loss. Like, what is going on here? You know, I didn't have family. Both my parents are on the other side. And I didn't understand, like, everything that I was doing before wasn't working. You know, they
Right.
called me Midas in San Francisco because every deal I touched turned to
Sure.
gold.
Okay.
And here I was, like, turning the keys into my Mercedes Benz, leaving it in the parking lot. I had no money for food, no nothing. And I couldn't get out of it. And I was screaming at God and, you know, my people and everything. Like, what did I say I would do? What is going on? You know, like, I just leave me alone, like, move on to somebody else. And I actually, you know, was contemplating leaving the planet. And somebody came to town from Chicago that I hadn't seen in a very long time. And she asked me, she said, "Can I take you to lunch?" So I went to lunch with her, and she mentioned agape. And now I hadn't told her anything about what was going on in my life because it was just so mortifying and I had shame around it. And
Sure.
I thought it was a restaurant, agape, you know? And she said, "No, it's a non-denominational church around here somewhere. You should check it out." I was like, "Sure." You know, I totally had given up on life at that point. And the next morning I looked up, so that was a Saturday. I looked it up, and sure, there was a church was happening in like 30 minutes. So I like grabbed my son, got out the door. And while I was there, I swore. I had my face in my hand, and I was like, I knew it was like, it sounds nuts, but like the word of God coming to me, or my parents and spirit, because it was my personal thoughts that were going on. It was my state of mind, my situation in my life, what I was contemplating doing. And the words that came through, I don't even remember what they were, but I left there for the first time feeling like I wanted that I had faith, that I had hope. And through the words that came through, it was Michael Beckwith.
Sure.
And I remember I went to him not knowing who he was, right? He had bodyguards and stuff. And I went and I said to him after the service, "You saved my life with what you said." And he stopped and he told the bodyguards it was fine. And he came and he like looked me in the face and gave me a hug and walked away. And from that day forward, I just started praying and talking to my parents on the other side. I would go up and down the beach in Venice, just praying, "Help me. What did I say I would do? I want to do it." Whatever agreement that I said, whatever I agreed to before I came in, which we can talk all about, but like whatever I said I would do, please just tell me what it is. What do I need to heal? What do I need to do? Because I know I'm here for a reason. You know, there's no way that I'm not. And even though I ended up getting evicted shortly after that, things got better. And that's crazy to say, but they got better because of my faith, and because I just got so focused on what was my relationship with God and spirit. And I don't mean organized religion, God.
Sure.
And it became all that I focused on and had faith in. And gradually, you know, even though I was like sleeping in garages, or friends would get Airbnb for me and my son at the time. But things were shifting, and I never went back to that feeling that I didn't want to be here. And then people started telling me, "Oh, you're a healer," like other psychic people and healers and stuff. And I was like, what? You know, like I was a medic and then a realtor, like, and I was still trying to revive my real estate at the time, and it wasn't working. But and then I actually went and was led to do ayahuasca. And that like propelled me into this whole nother level of connection spiritually. And I got a lot of information during that experience. And I was told in that experience that I was a healer and find a teacher. And then at that time, I was so reliant on spirit, and that okay, I hear you. And I went and I did it. And that's when I came across Linda Howe on Facebook with the Akashic Records. And when I saw her face, because I've known her from Chicago like 25 years ago, as I had said, and that's when I knew that was my teacher, and I signed up for the Akashic Records because I just trust that much, you know. And then the very first time I opened my own Akashic Records is when I was like absolutely sure of how I was being communicated with. I've always had the gift. I just didn't understand that that's how I'm communicated with, like in images and, you know.
And just for people listening and tuning in right now, Akashic Records are?
Well, like I've said, I've moved on from the records, and I wanted to talk a second about that after. But the Akashic Records is like it's a, you know, like you open a book of records, and in that giant book, like I saw it first, is like looks like a big Harry Potter book, you know, if you want to visualize that. And everything, all the lives you've lived, what your soul has lived, all the experiences it's had, all the ones it's currently having, all the possibilities of the future are all in this book of records. And so you access the master, you know, of the records, and masters, teachers, loved ones, it's called. And so, and then I literally, boom, I just started opening people's records, and it was just unbelievable experience. And since then, though, I started being sent a lot of people with medical issues, right? Just started showing up kind of in a theme. And I started being shown more things in the body, energy things, like I can literally see people's anxiety and things like that. And I started getting guided, as I've mentioned before in the last podcast, but I started getting guided as to like how to move some of the density out at the same time as getting the information about what the trauma was or the emotional
Because
wound.
you believe that all illness is rooted in trauma.
Well,
Most illness.
I believe it because that's what I've been. Yes, I do, because that's what I know from. I know it sounds odd, but that's what I understand from spirit, and because they, you know, I get taught along the way now. You know, like initially got connected to that gift, but then it's like I trust spirit, they trust me, and then the gift keeps getting more and more and more. You know,
Sure.
and so I actually had a conversation with Linda Howe, you know, who speaks all over the world, China, and teaches. And I asked her, you know, because I want to do the Akashic Records justice, right? And even though I moved, my gift has expanded from there. I had a conversation the other day with her, and I said, you know, how do I explain this without saying that, you know, the Akashic Records, it's an amazing tool. And I said, you know, because this isn't in the records, what I'm doing, right? She's like, no. And that's really important that you say that, because her main concern is that people then, you know, will think, oh, if I go and I take the Akashic Records course, then I'm going to be able to be a medical intuitive too. And that, unfortunately, you know, and so the people are going to focus on that instead of whatever it is, the gift that they have, you know, because we each have a unique gift.
And those records are specific to you.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I work outside of the, and she even agreed, you know, of course, the things that I'm doing are not within the Akashic Records.
Right. Okay.
So I'm always grateful, and of course, for that introduction to my own gift. And then you know, and it's all exactly the way that it should have been. But
so once introduced, once you recognized not what your full potential was, but for what was outlined for you, you've now used that in a way to share with others and explain that. So when you say, again, medical intuitive, a person can reach out to you and ask you, I've been seeing doctors for years over one particular issue, and you see their illness differently than a doctor.
Yeah, completely different.
Explain that.
Well, when people make an appointment with me, I say, I don't want to know anything about you or even what's going on, what medical condition you have via whatever Western medicine's calling it. And then when they come in, I just, they lay fully clothed and I tune in with my hand at their head. And I could close my eyes, sometimes open, it just depends. And when I tune in, first I send light through, because that's what I was taught to do. And I send light through. And when I send light through, like for women, a lot of women, and I'm learning a lot of men too, because I'm getting more and more men, the energy gets stuck right in the throat. And then we have to push it past there because people have trouble using their voice, women, predominantly. And then wherever there isn't light, it shows up as density. It's like seeing a negative or whatever it is. Like the best way I can explain it, because it's literally.
This is what you see.
This is what I see. I don't know what other people see, but this is what I see. And it's different for everybody, every person in front of me, but it's the same, but spirit prioritizes also what's going to go on in the session. So if they need to focus on that illness or density that's called cancer, for instance, then we go straight there. But otherwise, I'd run the light through, and now they've taught me I can see meridians and the smaller meridians, and I can see which ones are lit up and not lit up, which causes a whole nother level of problems. Because that's our etheric or energy electrical system. That's what I call it. And, because our physical manifestation of our electrical system is our spinal cord, right? So, and because our body is basically a hologram of our energy, etheric body, the electrical system for the energy body are the meridians. And they go, run with the spinal cord, basically. And so that wasn't, which you'll probably hear about from one of my clients that I'm bringing on. But and then they'll start. So we see that, right? And then they'll start downloading information to me or have me ask questions of my client. It could be it could be a childhood thing. It could, it's memories, or it's, situations or trauma, or, whatever they're getting at, and they jump around. I mean, this is like an hour of a session, and they end up connecting the dots for people at the end. Initially, people are like, what? I don't, sometimes I don't, what does that have to do with it? But then all these different pieces brought together, there's this huge aha at the end. And a way to, and people's loved ones on the other side come through to, offer support, or sometimes they jump in and.
But when you say that, see, again, if I was a person at home listening to this, when you say people's loved ones from the other side come through, what are you talking about? The meaning that you hear them.
See them,
hear them, and they are guiding you through your evaluation of what's going on with this person, or guiding you through ways to help this person overcome.
All of it. Like it's literally different every single time. But they also put emotion, like they'll put their emotion in my body. Sometimes I'll, start crying, or like, like it's just, it's hard to bottom line, because I've never had a session that's been the same as another different session.
And see, I think what people who are tuning in are trying to understand is, again, this is in the world of and I say belief. Just as much as people have the right to believe any form of Western religion that is out there, made up of stories and sometimes fairy tales and sometimes passed down legends, but they still believe. And if you have a right to believe that way, you also have a right to believe in what you do. Well,
it's just maybe a strong statement, but it's the truth. Like sometimes I'm like, wow, are you serious? But the truth is, whether you believe it or not, it's true.
Right.
Like it just is.
And then see again, though,
Yeah.
I will say again for the person tuning in who's jaded and doesn't want to believe, the same statement can be made by a Christian. They would make that statement in their heart of hearts. They believe the same thing. Whether you believe it or not, it's true.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that. So again, for those who are tuning in, you might sit back and go, come on, I don't buy this. Well, who cares whether you buy it or not?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it's for those who believe and those who believe.
Or are open to believing,
to
right?
believing.
Which is what's starting to happen because it's necessary.
Well, very interesting because, the last time we spoke ourselves just for, almost 40 minutes. And, this time I'm so glad that you were able to bring one of your clients with you. And, I'm going to bring her right now. Gina Pugliese. Gina, come on in for a second. So I want to bring her home to see Gina. And Gina, you are one of Bobbie's clients. And let's back up for a second and talk about what was going on in your life that made you even seek out a Bobbi Vogel.
She found me.
Nice.
I was several months post massive DVT blood clot in the back of my knee that had
This had been discovered by doctors.
Yeah, well, it was discovered after it broke open and shot to my lungs. I had a massive pulmonary embolism.
Okay.
Lucky to be alive.
Yeah. Doctors weren't sure how I survived. So I go home. I still have this DVT blood clot. Proceed with my doctors for months, 8 months.
And they put you on the standard treatment protocol
blood
for
thinners.
that? Okay.
Said I'd be fine. I'm young. I'm healthy. I'll be fine.
And your leg was huge.
Still, and it didn't. It didn't get any better.
And we should say this back up. Your leg had swollen the lower part of your leg, your whole
from the
leg?
knee down to my toes.
It's swollen twice the size?
Daily. Yeah.
Wow. A lot of pain.
Not necessarily pain, more just discomfort.
Discomfort.
When you're super swollen.
And they knew where the clot was. It was behind your knee.
It's in my popliteal vein.
Okay.
Behind my knee.
And I think you described it as being about the size of a olive.
Olive.
Okay.
Yeah. I had 50% blood flow.
And Western medication was not having the effect that you wanted it to have.
No. First few months, it dissipated a little bit. It shrunk a small amount. After then, it cemented itself into my leg, is what doctors told me.
Now let's back up. What is your profession?
I'm also a real estate agent.
Real estate agent. So this was really hampering your ability to go out of the house, right?
Yeah.
You couldn't even walk.
Rest. I was on medical bed rest. They put me on bed rest.
And so how did you even know that a Bobbi Vogel exists?
Well, Bobby's wife, Sarah, is an agent in my office. We didn't really know each other. We were friends on Facebook, and Sarah shared a Facebook post about Bobbie.
About Bobbie and Bobbie's abilities.
And it was right around the same time that my doctors left me pretty much with no hope. They, lifetime of blood thinners.
This is the envy.
Surgeon wouldn't even consider.
And you reached out to multiple surgeons to see if you could have that clot removed.
I had to wait for the authorization, and the offices called me and said, we don't bother coming in because the risk is so high of killing you that we won't even talk to you. So that's right around the time that I saw the post about Bobbie.
Saw the post about Bobbie. So let me just make an appointment and see what this is all about. And that's what you did?
Yeah.
And so, all right. So now, but first off, let me also back up and say, even though you saw the post from Sarah, I know Sarah, and I know she's very compelling, but if I was laying here and doctors had just said to me, "This is all I got for you," why would I believe that she had anything for me at all?
I knew there was something more going on within me, just within my whole journey, my whole life. And I was really catching on to, it was almost an outer body experience. As sick as I was, I didn't feel sick. Everyone around me's freaking out, like I'm going to die. And I'm like, okay, relax, come on, it's fine. And it wasn't until the doctor saw my scans and staring at me like, why can we even talk to you right now? You should be dead. Right. So I just knew at that point, there was something else going on. There was.
So when you went to see Bobbie, you walked in again,
Mm-hmm.
being treated for DVT and
Mm-hmm.
you know all of the symptoms that go along with that. You had major swelling in the lower part of the
Major
leg.
swelling, lots of cramping.
It's a cramping.
Typical symptom of a blood clot is like a Charlie horse that you cannot stretch out consistently all day long. So, and that's how it was all day long. Yeah.
So your first visit, you walk in the office, and what happens?
I think she was more like, oh my gosh, than I was, because she's like, what is wrong? What is going on? Like, I think she knew, like I was just like I think she knew that I was just had baggage. She just knew like something deeper was going on, because she just kind of said, what's going on?
She comes walking in to see you, Bobbie. What did you do first? What do you do?
Well,
so, I mean, I'm gonna ask you to go through this because you know people that are tuning in and listening in and going, "What the hell are they talking about?" What is it that you do? She walks in. You don't have X-rays in your building.
right,
You don't have a CAT scan.
right.
You don't have an
No,
MRI.
I'm the casket.
No, but that's what I'm saying. You don't have a CAT scan, an MRI. You don't have a lab down the hallway.
I just got
No.
me.
There's
It
not
was
35
me and my
technicians.
people.
There's not 35 technicians. Two people walked over and drew blood.
Yeah. No.
That didn't happen, right?
No, I
Nobody
mean,
took
I
it.
was laid on her scanning table.
They didn't come over and put a blood pressure cuff on you.
No.
Okay, all
No,
right. So walk me through it. She walks in the door. You know that she's made an appointment, and
Yeah.
she's told you nothing about what's wrong with her. What does Bobbi Vogel do?
Well, in her situation, I was like, oof, you know, because of her presentation. I mean, she was,
Her physicality.
yeah, her more mental state. I mean, she was scared. She was angry that this was happening via Western medicine. She had, you know, she was very like way up here. And I could, obviously her anxiety was, I knew my first thing to manage, because without getting through the anxiety first, you can't fix anything. And there's a lot to say about that. But
Silly question though, but she steps in the door. She's got a big leg, and you see anxiety. How do you see anxiety? What do you see? When she walked in the door, is there an aura around her?
no, I don't see auras, at least not yet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to make. I want to get these people at home to understand.
So somehow I can see, and I can see like erratic, almost like dim lights or kind of gray and anxiety.
Like a sci-fi movie where she's lit up and you're the only one who can see it.
I mean, maybe, but
I mean,
yeah.
okay. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's different in people depending on the severity. So yeah, I can see. So it's like I kind of, I'm like, I hear her talking. I can see like her level of anxiety and frustration. I knew, right, Spirit started downloading to me. You know, I'm just looking at her, right? She doesn't know what I'm doing. And I can, before she even laid down, because I had to sort of talk to her for a few minutes and say, like, here's how I work and this is what's up. Are you down for it? Because sometimes they're going to bring up, Spirit is going to bring up hard stuff.
So you're telling her,
Yeah,
I'm going to have you lay down here and I'm going to tap into your spirit guides, other people on the other side,
mine, yeah,
yours, whoever wants to give me help about trying to figure out what's wrong with you.
Yeah, whoever's here, let's roll, right?
And I mean, I know some people might walk in that door and go, "Oh, really? That's what you think you're going to do?" Walk out the door. How come you didn't walk out the door? Were you open to this kind of treatment?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. But before any of that came through, it was you did do a diagnostic. She knew exactly. She nailed exactly where my blood clot was. She saw it. She saw the blood flow not moving. She saw my electrical system completely shut down. I was the literal walking dead, and she described it before anyone could even come through.
Okay, wow.
It was.
So that's the first thing you do when she walks in the door.
Yeah, I mean, it just, the information just starts coming. So I knew that clot, and she didn't, so all this was happening, and I can somebody can be looking at them and talk, but they're not, I'm hearing things, being shown things, you know, and then I knew that clot was about anger. And I was clear on that, but I don't get to prioritize what we do. They kind of, do this little diagnostic. Well, here's the things we're going to have to work with and da-da-da. But then when I actually tune in and you know, when she laid down, for instance, I tune in, then that's when I really start. It just like her grandmother came through immediately, who's on the other
And her
side.
grandmother came through and said what?
She
you wanna
was the
share?
reason I didn't die.
And why?
I don't know. I guess I was at a horrible, horrible point, and things that I've never admitted to anybody, and even Bobbie didn't know, and she came through, and what she said, even though I never admitted it to anyone, she knew it. She knew it, and she said it to me.
So you were letting her
And
speak
she
through
didn't
you.
know.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
She didn't know, and it was so relevant because you know you feel alone and you feel like you just want to die,
Terrified.
and the last thing you want to do is even acknowledge it, to even talk about it. But I think she knew on a soul level, even though physically I was just done. Her analogy that she gave to Bobbie was that she was holding me by the neck of my shirt and literally dragging me along. And that is exactly how I felt that I was getting through life. Just barely scraping the surface of just breathing.
So in this first session, which lasts how long? An hour?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
An hour. How much does she focus in on this blood clot, which was really the reason why you came in there?
She immediately, she started telling Bobbie all of my child, it started here, this situation, this person, this thing, this whatever. I mean,
And you put these pieces together to translate into it's the pain of the anger that's causing the clot, in a way. Am I saying this wrong? Or
Yeah, no, basically, yeah. And I mean, her grandmother, she also validated a lot of Gina's experience, even through childhood, and that's okay to say.
absolutely, yeah.
And which was healing in itself. See, like we never, like people.
when you say healing in itself, is the fact that Gina has to face this, that it releases something?
Energetically releases a lot. I mean, there's when people from the other side come through and like give you, it's either apologize or give you information or whatever it is. Yes, I've seen, it's like energy leaves, like like density can leave, stagnation, like people just that information alone can give people the will to live, you know. But in her case, it was like having her grandmother with her, who was being loving and kind and validating, but she also was on a mission to get this thing healed, which meant she needed to heal a lot of things along with what I was doing, which I think what you were asking is, well, of course, when this information was coming through from her grandmother, I was doing this and I was literally I busted through the other stagnation, calmed her down, calmed her electrical system down, her anxiety, just send light through, because what I see is this from above. And now I'm looking at her body's laying, right? So her electrical system's doing this. And when it's doing that, nothing flows. There's no flow in the physical body, in the energetic body.
And you do what yourself physically, or what do? You calm that electrical grid. It's calming at the same time as she's getting information that's releasing some of her built up anxiety. But you're also doing what?
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of different things depending on what I'm told to do. I don't take a guess at what to do. I don't ever do the same thing for anybody. I literally wait until I'm told what to do. It's changed a little bit because they've given me a little more, control, because more teamwork. But in her case, I was sending the light to calm down her electrical system because I couldn't see anything.
Okay.
And I couldn't get to the clot.
By end of session 1, had you gotten through to this clot?
Oh, yeah. No,
Okay.
pretty quickly.
So at end of session 1, what do you feel?
Really, a relief, release, so many answers as to really why, where it was all stemming from.
But the clot had not gone away.
Not yet.
That was okay. So now, how
Not
many
yet.
sessions did you go to Bobbie for? 6?
6. Yeah, I saw her 2 times first alone. And then I was working with her and an acupuncturist simultaneously together in sessions, and they were both doing their work. And I did that twice, but Bobbie really kind of surpassed everything. It was just, I had a connection with Bobbie, the energetic connection, the soul. There's just something that was.
Gotcha. So now you go through 6 sessions, and what happens?
Oh gosh. Okay. Was it right after the 6th? No, 7th. It was. I finished all of the acu, but she was doing the last 2 by herself. And I was woken up one night about 1:30 in the morning in excruciating pain. Initially, I thought I had another blood clot because it felt like I can't even describe it, how painful it was. And I laid there. I could not stretch it out. I laid there for probably 20 minutes. Finally fell asleep. It was starting to dissipate. I woke up the next morning and my swelling was completely gone.
Wow.
However, I was sore down to my bone from this cramp that I had, but my swelling was gone. So I called her and I said, I don't know. I either have another one or it's gone. I think it broke up. I think it is literally broken up, and I felt it.
Now, had you continued the regimen of blood thinners throughout this whole period of time too?
I had actually taken myself off blood thinners.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Around the time that I met Bobbie, I want to say I saw her probably twice. I think it was before acu. Anyway, I had pretty much fired my doctors.
Gotcha.
I fired them because they left me with just a lifetime of prescription, and that's it.
So your swelling was gone. How did you find out that the blood clot had dissipated?
Well, you came back.
Yeah, I saw her consistently after that incident.
And I saw it was gone.
Yeah, all of my symptoms were gone, and like I said, I had taken myself off blood thinners before
Did you go to
then.
a Western doctor to take a look?
Yeah,
What
and
did
I
they say?
had one last authorization for an ultrasound, and I saved it for several weeks. We did several more sessions.
We had a plan.
Yeah,
we worked it all.
It was strategically, like we had a big plan. And September 13th, 14th, I went and had an ultrasound, and it had shrunk to the size of a flattened pea.
Wow.
Yeah.
And could doctors explain that?
I don't know. I never went back to my doctors.
So now, how do you feel now?
I feel great physically. My physical fight, my physical challenges, they're all remedied. Now I have a lot of emotional stuff that is
So you continue to see
been
Bobbie now?
challenging. Mm-hmm. She's my
Gotcha.
lifeline.
Gotcha. I mean, how if you had to say, I mean, how impactful was this on your entire life?
I don't even think there's a word to describe it. Just a complete sucker punch, really. A complete sucker
Turned it
punch.
upside down.
Flipped it upside down.
But
Literally.
you weren't
flipped it
able to
upside down.
work and all
Yeah,
that
being
stuff.
So you're back to work
self-employed
now?
and- yeah, I'm back to work. But physically, emotionally, mentally, everything. It was just a complete flip upside down.
No, and here I'm trying to be the devil's advocate, but I'm trying to play the listener who's the Western medication listener who would say that, well, DBTs can do just that anyway. They can break up and go away on their own.
They can.
So how do we associate that directly to what Bobbie did to help make that happen?
Talk more about the
Well-
acupuncture stuff.
Okay. Well, I was going to back up even before then. I was told that it had cemented, the blood clot had cemented itself and had become part of my body.
Okay.
Literally part of my vein. There was no way of blasting it out or cutting it out. Surgeon would not even talk to me, look at me, saw my medical record, so there's nothing we can do. The risk is so high, I'd kill you before I even help you.
Right.
So the fact that the work that we did broke this thing up is pretty significant. And to touch on the acutherapy, geez, it was amazing. Okay, so there was one session where the acupuncturist she had the needles in my knee. It was the same day that you said, why don't you have a needle there? And she put it in my knee where the popliteal vein is. And Bobbie got up from behind me and walked over and put her hand where the needle was.
I was told to
On
get
the
up,
needle,
like
yeah.
Spirit said, get up.
And it was like a electrical shock went through my body all the way down to my toe, where I didn't really have feeling in my foot.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm like, oh, ow. So then she moved her hand and then she put it back and it was like, ah! And so she moved her hand and it was like that and that's when I
the shock went away when I took my
Yeah.
hands, because the acupuncturist was like, well, it's happening, because give it 30 seconds and it'll calm down.
Calm down.
Yeah.
So I stood back and I took my hands away, because I was also curious too, right? Because I'm literally being taught this with her, like
Right.
taught use your fingers and direct, laser things. It's crazy, and things continue to unfold like that. But so I was not trying to prove a point. I was actually trying to see what the hell's going on.
Right.
And so I stepped away and it stopped. And I stepped back and I put my hands back just right above the needles. And she was like, ah.
Wow.
And she's like, no, go ahead, keep going,
Yeah.
keep going. And what I could see there, even though that clot was whatever size they were saying, is, to me, it looked like a cement block in there, because there was density around it. So it was likely, what it looked like to me is that it could only get worse unless something, yeah. And the no electricity, and I couldn't get to the clot. I got stopped dead, like above her knee. So to me, that clot, the density of that clot came above her knee, and I couldn't break through that the first time I saw her. The second time I saw her, and I think we saw each other probably more 3 than 2 times at first, but and then finally, and then it didn't. There was no electricity from her knee down. So I was working on that, as we were working on her emotional stuff, all in the same thing. And then I think it was like the third time I was able to see like a little bit of light go around, like on the outside of her knee inside. So it had made a little path around, and I was like, wow,
That was the day that you were guided to put one on my thigh, and you couldn't do it, so you put your fingers there.
Well, so because I tune in, right, and I'm waiting for the needles to be in there, and then I'm literally shown, like, and so I humbly am asking, like, is this a point? Because I don't know anything about acupuncture. And I said, is this like right here, like in the inside of her thigh? And the acupuncturist said, well, I can't legally put one through clothing, which is great. I don't know. And she said, why don't you get up and lay hands on her? So I stood up and I went, and at first I thought it was one finger, and I ended up putting 3 there and just holding them there. And I'm then like sending like energy through. And the acupuncturist said, wow, that is a 3-point series or whatever it's called in acupuncture for the behind the knee.
Wow.
And I'm mind blown at the same time. Like you said, she's like,
but I had I could feel it. I could feel what was going on in my leg. So to watch her really, she was, I don't even know. It was like, she didn't even know what she was doing. She's like,
wow.
oh my God.
Okay, so again,
and I'm having the physical, like, oh.
But now, for those people who again have just tuned in or have tuned in for half of this, what would you say to them if they said to you, again, how are you so sure that Bobbie did this, or is something that just didn't happen? By itself, spontaneous remission of your DVT.
Good question, I guess.
Because you've got to be, I mean, you're still seeing her now, so there's got to be some benefits. What are the benefits that you're getting now out of sessions after the DBT has now been broken up?
It hasn't necessarily been a physical challenge now that we're working on. It's more of emotional and that kind of thing. But I guess to answer your first question, after 8, almost 9 months of doing Western medicine, all of the blood thinners and absolutely nothing happening, and then within weeks, all of a sudden, it's just
Changes.
literally blasted out of my body. That's the significance to me.
And is that what you want people to know, Bobbie, about what it is you're practicing, that you do have the ability to basically correct things that other people have taken months to even address and have no ability to address? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's I mean, that's definitely an aspect of it. You know, some people come in, which is what I would say about your question for Gina is people can come in with emotional, we've all got traumas. We've all got emotional wounds. We're on the planet. We've got wounds to heal. That's just a fact. So people can come to me for, you know, they think they're coming for guidance or whatever it is, because of course their peeps know better than anyone what is going, you know, what's next in their life or how to resolve whatever. But people can have emotional issues going on with and not yet have a physical manifestation of it. So it's important to heal. I mean, that's what we need to do on the planet. That's, you know, what's happening right now is like this, people need to heal emotional stuff. And it's not just better for the planet and their own lives, but it will manifest into the physical. It will manifest into the physical in one way or another.
If somebody wants to reach out to you and either set up a session or just wants to reach out to you to talk, how do they do it?
www.ethericmedicine.com, ETHERIC medicine.com.
And if they want to see you physically, where do they go to? Where part of California are you
Downtown Long Beach.
Downtown Long Beach. They can
But
see
but I've started traveling. So like last month I went to New York. This month I'm going to Boston.
Okay. All right, good. I can't say thank you enough, Gina, for having been here.
Thank you.
And help us try to understand exactly the magic behind what it is Bobbie does.
Right.
And I want to thank all of you also. Thank you so much, Bobbie,
Thank
for being here
you.
today. Thank all of you for tuning in. You know, Bobbie is going to come back again at another time with another one of your clients to help us kind of help you understand what it is she does. So I'm out of time, and I can't say thank you enough for having tuned into Let's Be Blunt with Montel, where we will continue to cover everything and anything cannabis, but every now and then we're going to bring you some things that I think are near and dear to your heart and things that you need to know about. That's why Bobbie's here. Thank you so much, Bobbie.
Thank you.
All right, now catch us on the next Let's Be Blunt.